All our stories are created for entertainment purposes only.
On Monday, April 5th, I, a 31-year-old male, was doing volunteer work when my bank alerted me via text that $3,000 had been removed from our checking account. I hurried back home, only to discover our apartment in a chaotic and disorganized state. My spouse, a 30-year-old female, had left, taking what she desired, and was nowhere to be found. I couldn't reach her through texts or calls, and there was no note. A close friend of mine messaged her, asking where she was, and she replied with, "You can tell my name that I'm fine and that I need some space, and that I'm sorry for hurting him." Since then, I've been trying my best to make sense of this whole situation. Let me give you some background. My wife and I had been together for almost 4 years, and we got married on July 3rd, 2020. We first met in August 2017 when she was working at a Lush store, and we pretty much instantly fell head over heels for each other. It was like an intense infatuation. She had recently ended a 6-year relationship with an offensive alcoholic and was living with another guy at the time. She had also been cheating on her ex regularly and had some kind of relationship with a guy in Scotland. Scotland guy didn't seem too interested in her, so when I entered the picture, she left both the guy she was living with and her Scotland relationship for me. I rationalized it back then, thinking I was offering more than anyone else had in a while. I was working full-time and pursuing a bachelor's degree while trying to build a better life for myself. She brought along a significant amount of credit card debt and even financed a breast augmentation within the first 6 months, which added up to nearly $20,000 in debt. It was something entirely new for me. Despite the financial challenges, we got along remarkably well. The initial years of our relationship were challenging due to the debt and our efforts to establish stability, but we persevered. There were issues on both sides, and we had an open relationship that primarily involved other women. However, we were passionately in love with each other. I've had several relationships before, but nothing like this one, where we were deeply in love and dedicated to each other, but also allowed ourselves to engage in some selfish behavior. She started studying for medical school and took on various responsibilities. She worked as a medical scribe, maintained a 4.0 GPA, and we both volunteered regularly. On top of that, we traveled together, visiting her family, New York, Vietnam for charity work with disabled children, and California several times. We felt incredibly in love and empowered. We were eager to get married and start a family, and our time together was unbelievably enjoyable. Condensing 4 years into a Reddit post is a challenge, but here's the essence of it. During our time together, I got to know her pretty well. She was incredibly smart and even got a full scholarship for a university in the Midwest where she lived. But after about a year of school, her grades started slipping, and she lost the scholarship, eventually dropping out. She ended up moving in with a bunch of guys in Atlanta, thinking they'd take care of her. Things didn't go as planned. Instead, she turned to online translations to pay the bills and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment with a guy she insisted wasn't her boyfriend. When that relationship went downhill, she started talking to another guy on a Pokemon forum, who also said he'd take care of her. So she told her current guy she was leaving and relocated to Arizona. This new guy became her constant boyfriend, despite her cheating on him regularly. He was a decade older than her. During this time, she also maintained a relationship with the guy in Scotland and even visited him while still with her boyfriend. Eventually, she and her boyfriend moved to Washington after he lost his job. Unfortunately, she gave him an STD due to her affairs. Then one day, she packed a suitcase and moved in with yet another guy who promised to take care of her. She described their relationship as an insect and a spider. This is where I come into the picture, while she was working part-time at Lush. She told me she loved me within days, and I reciprocated. I quickly learned about her tumultuous history, and she was fully aware of how foolish her past choices had been. Both of us were desperate for change, and I believe that's why we clicked so well and stayed together for so long. In February of last year, she secretly arranged to get an apartment through a friend. I couldn't understand why, and we discussed it. It turned out there were things in our relationship that she wasn't happy with. We talked it out, and she canceled her plans. But a few months later, she became secretive about her camera roll. It came to light that she'd been in touch with the guy in Scotland again, and had racked up almost $5,000 in credit card debt to secure a different apartment in Seattle. She wanted to visit him, but he declined. They'd been exchanging photos, and I was left bewildered. It started to dawn on me how passive-aggressive she was, how adept she was at hiding things that bothered her. Ultimately, I realized she'd learned from her parents that when things got tough or uncomfortable, you talked to everyone except your partner, and then you left. Sadly, she didn't make it to med school, and we lost the path we'd been striving for together. By this point, I'm head over heels in love with her, and I believe that there's nothing we can't overcome together if we both put in the effort. She feels the same way, and we decide to start therapy and even tie the knot. Our communication appears to be on point. Then, last August, I went to visit some family about an hour away from our home. When I returned, she had vanished, leaving behind a poetic note typed on a typewriter. The note expressed her desire to give me her whole heart and mentioned my concern for her safety. She saw her disappearance as a way of protecting herself. We were set to move in 2 days, and I was able to contact her through emails. We met up, she apologized, and she explained that she left due to my reaction when she spilled chocolate milk, which was me snapping at her to grab a blanket to soak it up before grabbing paper towels. At this point, I had developed significant trauma and PTSD related to her sudden departures. One October morning, after we had moved to a major city, I woke up around 9 a.m. to find her standing over the bed, announcing that she was leaving. I panicked and asked why, as I had no clue what to expect anymore. She mentioned it was because of the way I carried myself. I empathized and reassured her that I was willing to do whatever it took to make things better. She seemed to feel better, but by that time her friends were already waiting outside to pick her up. A couple of days later, she took the train back home after shaving her head. About a month later, I returned home from volunteering, only to find her gone and $900 withdrawn from our checking account. There was a note on the table saying she had gone to California. I called her and we talked. She claimed she just needed a short break, that she was house-sitting for a friend and would return in a couple of weeks. I understood, but I explained that she had crossed a significant boundary. Going on a vacation was fine, but communication was key. I couldn't really accept what she had done, so I gave her the choice to come back or stay gone. She chose to return. This is where things took a different turn. She landed a regular job, working as an assistant teacher at a school full-time with benefits, her first job of this kind. She seemed to adore it, and we were saving money. I had started graduate school, we were living in a major city, and she began a program to earn a second bachelor's degree in computer science in just 2 years. As time passed, everything seemed to be going well, but there were signs she was keeping things from me. Little things like smoking marijuana, taking different routes home from work, and even her emotions. I couldn't help but ask her repeatedly, "Will you still be here when I get back?" out of fear that she might disappear like before. It haunted me, and I'd have nightmares about it. On weekends, I'd wake up and call her name just to make sure she was there. On weekdays, I'd check around the house to ensure she hadn't left in the middle of the night. I made sure to express my feelings frequently. I went out of my way to do nice things and try to make her happy in any way I could think of. I had always taken care of the house and cooked meals, so I continued doing that. She'd get defensive initially, but then calm down as long as I used I messages and kept my composure. It usually took about 45 minutes for her to relax enough to discuss things. She also began attending therapy sessions. One day, I mustered the courage to ask her if she was hiding anything from me, and she denied it. I knew it was a lie because there was petty cash missing. When I pressed her, she admitted to taking it to buy joints, which she smoked at work. All I told her was that I was tired of being deceived. She asked if we were meeting at the gym, and I questioned if that was her top priority. She repeated the question, and I replied with sociopath. That's when she decided not to come home. Around 10:30 p.m., she eventually returned, visibly intoxicated, and started packing a bag. I pleaded with her to talk to me, but she asked what I'd do if she didn't. I honestly told her I'd be scared and sad. She responded with, "Your feelings aren't my responsibility," and walked out. She texted me later, saying that this had been a long time coming and that she wasn't a sociopath. The following morning, I hadn't heard from her. I reached out, expressing my love and asking about her plans. She read my messages but didn't respond. A couple of hours later, I contacted her again, this time telling her I felt hurt. She informed me that she was moving back to her home state. Later on, I discovered that she had been on the phone with some guy for 5 hours the previous night. When she didn't come home, she had called him. She was constantly either on the phone with him or texting, even while lying in bed right next to me. She informs me that she's already handed in her 2-week notice at work and was planning to vanish without a word. We both break down in tears. Perhaps rather naively, I decide to give it another shot and try my best to salvage our relationship. After a couple of days, she tells me she got her job back and has changed her mind. She expresses her deep love for me and acknowledges the value of what we have together. I continue to give my all, putting in extra effort. She appears elated, showing more affection, reciprocating and improving communication. I maintain my commitment. About 4 days before she left, while using her phone to take a picture, I stumble upon an undressed photo I hadn't received. It was her most recent picture, and I immediately realize she's cheating again. I sit up, exhale heavily, but remain silent. Instead, she initiates the conversation. She apologizes, explains it was a one-time thing, and promises to delete the person's number. I express my ongoing commitment to making things work. She acknowledges me as a great partner and reassures me with everything from intimacy to gifts to words of affirmation. I'm hurt and feel betrayed, but I relent. It's kind of crazy to think there's nothing I wouldn't do for her. On the day she left, we had dinner plans, and she asked me to pick up some items from Costco. However, when I returned home, she was gone, and all I had was a message saying, "I need some space." About a week later, she messages me, "I want to talk, but I'm not ready. Also, you're not blocked on anything. I've had my phone on airplane mode, sorry." I was reaching out frequently to try and understand what was happening, as I still had a lot of her belongings, and our bills were still being debited from the account. A week after that, she coldly contacts me to inform me that she's finding herself, saying, "I'm finding myself, my name. I've been with a lot of people who have tried to do that for me, so I took myself away so I can do it all by myself." Eventually, I check phone records and the affair becomes evident. I decide to board a plane to Indiana. Her family reveals they haven't heard from her and don't know her whereabouts. She's gone dark on social media and her phone has been off for a month at this point. Here I am, still deeply in love, desperately searching for answers. After my trip to Indiana, I start digging and uncover all the details. It turns out it's a guy we used to joke about being attractive. He lives in LA. I ask my building manager if she's seen my wife, and she confirms she did and that she mentioned going to LA. I couldn't fully comprehend this, whether it was denial or confusion. We continued to communicate, primarily through FB Messenger. She apologizes, expresses her desire to have me in her life, but also insists on going it alone for a while. I inquire about the affair, but there's nothing but silence. Her mother initiates contact with me, conveying that my wife has no intentions of ever speaking to me again, and that I should communicate through her, which I firmly reject. Suddenly, my wife becomes active on social media once more. She goes to Vegas with the guy, sharing pictures of lingerie and indulging in a constant high, practically every day. She's residing with him in LA, sleeping on a mattress on the floor. She turns incredibly cruel, posting on Reddit that I was offensive and expressing regret about saying "I do." Her unemployment checks continue to arrive in our old account before I eventually closed it. She adamantly refuses to cooperate with me in any way. It's as if the cycle has completed its revolution, the very same pattern she's been repeating since she left home. It might sound foolish, but I can't fathom that it's happening to me now, too. She had labeled all her previous partners as awful people, and I had believed her. I guess she's doing the same thing with me now. It's truly a tragic situation. It feels like there's just too much to overcome. We could have had something wonderful if we had only managed to get our act together. Story 2. During our engagement, she encouraged me to enter a contest for city's name, most engaging couple, not naming the city for privacy reasons. Fast forward 12 years into our marriage, she drops a bombshell on me. She says, "That receipt you found from Motel 6 in my car on our way to the contest interview? I was sleeping with Bob." So she had been cheating on me for years even before we got married. 12 years into our marriage, she reveals this shocking truth after we've had 3 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and a mortgage. And here comes the kicker. After she confesses this on the phone, she heads off for a weekend getaway with her girlfriend in city name, leaving me at home to grapple with our debt, kids, and very limited options. Now, here's what I find intriguing. It seems like whenever women I work with or interact with include the words only or just in a sentence, They think it somehow absolves them of responsibility. We were just dating. We were only engaged. Fast forward to today, she has started a construction company. Our home suffered flood damage from a storm, just like thousands of others in our area. She's now flipping homes with a contractor, and she insists he's like a brother and I have nothing to worry about. Yes, I know what you're thinking. I must be a fool. The problem is, I can't afford to divorce her. And there's a part of me that really wants to believe her, but it's like I'm wrestling with cognitive dissonance, you know? I have 3 boys, and I've had paternity tests to confirm they're mine. I mean, who wouldn't? I love them deeply, and I don't want to disrupt their lives with a divorce. So here I am, awake at 2:39 in the morning, taking stock of my life and choices, realizing how financially devastated I'd be if I divorced, thanks to the state name legal system's gynocentric tendencies. There's so much more to my story. I'm sitting here in the dark, feeling lonely, and maybe a little tipsy from the wine I've been sipping. I needed it after she revealed she was at a bar with her business partner, drinking and discussing why his wife had grabbed her at a party. No, I get it. You don't need to tell me what I already know. This isn't just about me. It's about my 3 sons. It's about navigating through the challenges we call life and making it through another day. I've never contemplated ending it all. Far from it. My boys depend on me to bring home a paycheck and support them, their families, and heck, I want to be a granddad someday. But I understand why some people might entertain such thoughts. I truly do. To all the guys out there facing tough situations with limited options, hang in there. You can do it. Don't harm yourself. Your kids rely on you more than ever, every darn day. Sure, she lied, had another man in her life and shows no remorse. But remember, you're not striving and pushing through this for her. It's for those little ones you cradled when they were born, the diapers you changed, the guidance you provided, and the limitless love you shared. This might seem like a random message, right? I'll be dozing off soon, gearing up for another weekend of work to provide for my children. Please, don't think for a second that I look in the mirror and see someone without faults, but for goodness sake, can my wife stop humiliating me in this life? Seems unlikely. Good night and farewell, everyone. If you've read this far, know that perhaps my words struck a chord with you. Maybe they offered a glimpse of shared experience. If you're a dad like me, prioritizing your children above all else, understand that I empathize with your feelings of despair, your profound pain and sorrow. Just remember, you're the man in the arena. Keep moving forward. Story 3. We've been together for 7 years. I'm usually a pretty laid-back person while she's very expressive and always seeking attention. I don't mind attention, but I believe compliments should be genuine. This difference in our personalities has caused some ups and downs in our relationship. About a month ago, she seemed really agitated about everything. She complained that I wasn't giving her enough attention, sometimes without good reason, and other times, maybe because I was trying but not with enough passion, as she put it. She even started questioning our future together. I noticed she was being secretive with her phone too, among other hints that made me suspicious. Then, suddenly, while she was still complaining about some things, she went back to being her usual self. She started expressing her love for me, talking about getting married, having children together, and wondering why she had such an amazing boyfriend like me. This week, she's out of town until Sunday, and I'm at home just going about my usual business. I happened to open her laptop and found a 2-page document. It began with thoughts she often shared about her life, her goals, and me. It was all in the first person, with no names but a few details. Towards the end, she wrote about feeling guilty and mentioned a brief fling with a guy. She didn't name him, but I have an idea. She explained that he also had a girlfriend, whom he ended things with, possibly because of her. But she couldn't trust him because he's a cheater, so they couldn't be together. After a while, he stopped responding to her messages. Then she went on to express her deep love for her boyfriend, me, I assume, without hesitation. Now I'm in this situation, and there's a small chance it could be fiction. It also crossed my mind that she might have left it there for me to find, even though I rarely use her computer. I can't wait until Sunday to address this. I need a plan to navigate this situation with as little damage as possible. I'm a bit shaken, but not too bad. What should I do? Update. So, for better or worse, I managed to gather enough evidence. She was actually proud of what she did and even bragged about it to one of her friends, who seemed to encourage her. By the way, she's visiting that friend right now. Interestingly, she never once considered leaving me and talked about wanting to make me the happiest man in the world. But in the same conversation, she discussed whether she should get involved with the other guy again and how he's weak for falling for her. Now I'm starting to think she might be some kind of psycho, or I don't know what to call it. As for my feelings right now, they're even more jumbled. What I discovered has hit me hard. I can't sleep, and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this until Sunday. On the other hand, I don't feel weak or susceptible to whatever she might tell me, and she's very convincing. Instead, I'm overwhelmed with anger and a desire for some form of revenge, nothing physical or harmful. Ideally, I'd like to maintain a poker face and tell her to move out, but I can't do it. I ended up going to the store, buying some trash bags, and started packing her things. I'm considering a few steps, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. First, I plan to pack most of her belongings and take them to her family's place, as they live nearby and we're on good terms. I'm pretty sure they'll raise their eyebrows, but I could pass it off as needing storage space. Then, I'll send her a message ending things and not respond to anything else. I think it might give me some satisfaction if she wonders why. As an extra step, I'm not entirely sure about this one, but I could cancel her return ticket since I purchased it. It would be a petty form of revenge, since she probably won't have enough money to buy another ticket, and she'd have to ask her family for help. It would also delay her return by a few days and require some explaining at work. Okay, I admit the last part might be a bit silly. Update. I have a few weeks of holidays coming up, during which I need to work from home. However, I can't seem to concentrate on work either. I've decided that I can't wait until Sunday. I sent her a message along these lines. Hi, it's over between us. Since it's over, one of us needs to move out. The person who stays will handle the rent and other matters. If you don't mind, I'll be the one to stay. I'll move your belongings to your relative's place, and on Sunday, we can meet there to exchange keys, etc. Please don't contact me in any way except this Sunday. If you disagree with moving out, then I will. Let me and our landlord know by the end of the day. As I mentioned earlier, her relatives live nearby, and with her lifestyle, she can't afford to rent our apartment on her own. So I assume she should agree, although she might oppose it just to annoy me. I've also informed my family about the situation. I really don't want to have to explain this to my friends, so even though it might sound silly, I plan to update my relationship status on Facebook to single. It's not specified right now, and leave a comment clarifying that it's not a joke or anything. I've also changed the locks and scheduled an STD test. Her stuff is nearly all packed up.